I'd now like to welcome the Chairman, the Honourable John Olsen, AO, to the stage, please.
Thank you, Sam. Ladies and gentlemen, well, it's a great pleasure for me to be here as your chairman for my first annual general meeting, the Adelaide Football Club. Having been in the role now for about five months, it's clear that the football industry moves at a very fast pace. However, one constant throughout this period is the passion that you, the membership of this club, have shown and loyalty to this football club. And I've been really struck by the passion and the willingness for this club to be the very best it can be by a cross-section of people in the community in South Australia. I've been struck by the fact that everybody has an opinion. Everybody is uninhibited about telling you their opinion, and everyone expecting you to adopt their opinion about the direction of the footy club. But what that tells me is what a great opportunity this club has going forward. That is a whole wealth of people in this state who want this club to succeed in the future. That is a great base and foundation to move forward on. In that context, I thank you for your ongoing commitment and support to the Adelaide Football Club, because we've been through some tough years. The last 2 or 3 years have been tough years. But loyalty and commitment and perseverance and dedication are the hallmarks of success at the end of the day. So with your support, we're building towards success at the end of the day. Over the last 6 or 8 weeks, your board has gone through a very rigorous and detailed process to identify the club's next chief executive. We were looking for a leader with experience in AFL football, commercially astute, and a track record of delivering strong financial and commercial results, and personal experience in the football department. We had over 60 applications, I think it was, from across Australia and even overseas. They were high-quality candidates. And as has been announced today, it's a real pleasure to welcome Tim Silvers as our new CEO. Tim is one of the most experienced administrators in the AFL. He has an intimate working knowledge of what it takes to deliver sustained success at the elite level. And the feedback we got in the reference checks, and I can tell you, and even Stuart Fox made comment to me on Sunday, the process we went through, the checks and the cross-checks on this journey, the thorough nature that we went about it. All the feedback we got was unanimous. He's passionate, he's driven, he's authentic, values-based leader who has a great understanding of the football landscape. There is no better person with the qualities and the attributes of Tim, other than Tim, to lead this club on the journey that we're on our rebuild, reset for the future. And Tim will have a conversation with Sam with you in a moment. But Tim had been acting CEO of the Hawthorn Football Club on occasions. He's been the Chief Operating Officer of the Hawthorn Football Club, the Chief Commercial Officer of the Hawthorn Football Club. He's been involved with list management, TPP, total player payments, soft cap. So he understands the intricacies of our AFL system in relation to footy department. He's led the Hawthorn Football Club in major commercial external revenue streams that underpin the financial success of the Hawthorn Football Club. And over the last couple of years, he's been leading on behalf of the Hawthorn Football Club their $100 million proposal to build new facilities at Dingley in Melbourne. So with that experience that we're looking at new facilities, we want to focus on commercial and financial growth going forward. Focus on our footy first approach at the Adelaide Football Club. He comes with all the credentials we need at this time for the football club going forward. And it's been a pleasure and a delight working with you in a very short space of time, Tim, and I look forward to working with you over the journey with our club. So sincerely welcome. Well, the year in review. It's been a pretty challenging year on and off the field. Football faced its greatest financial crisis as the global pandemic forced the game to shut down, and when it returned, we were operating under stringent protocols and playing in front of very limited crowds. And as you will hear shortly, our financial results, our operations were severely disrupted and revenue fell accordingly. It is not lost on any of us that many people in our community also confronted challenges and experienced hardship during COVID last year. The fact we were able to maintain our off-field strength is a testament to the passion that I talked about a moment ago of our members, who once again, in a time of need, showed support and endorsement for the club, the backbone of the club. We're also very fortunate to have loyal corporate supporters and partners who were willing to be flexible with their sponsorship of the club and the benefits they were supposed to get that weren't able to be delivered to them last year, but they stuck with us during that year. And so I want to acknowledge our stakeholders and corporate supporters in that context. Like me, I'm sure you've heard commentary that recent times suggesting the league headquarters in Victoria controls or has a say in our decision-making, and I saw in one newspaper article they were making the decision in relation to our CEO. The only involvement was a text I sent to Gillon McLaughlin this morning advising him of who the new CEO of the Adelaide Football Club was. Rest assured that if, whether it's recruitment of a new CEO, a move to new headquarters or any other matter, those decisions are made by the board of the Adelaide Football Club. As I mentioned, we've got a football-first approach. Unfortunately, last year's on-field performance was not a standard that our club or you as supporters would expect of us. Circumstances were challenging because we embarked on the most significant rebuild of the men's playing list in our history, several months before the pandemic actually impacted and hit. It meant we had a first-year senior coach leading a group of young players who were trying to learn a new game plan without the benefit of being able to train properly due to AFL protocols in groups of 8. So the game plan they couldn't train the game plan and put it into effect. A great impediment and restriction for what Matthew Nix was attempting to do. Well, we didn't win enough games, but we did stay true to a clear and considered plan that brought meaningful progress during the course of the year, and towards the end of the year it shaped up and giving some indication of what these players can deliver in the future. The fact we could not field a SANFL team was also disappointing because it deprived some players of valuable game time and development. The AFLW season was equally as challenging. Our performances were not at the level to which we've become accustomed of our women's team, and we did not qualify for the finals prior to competition prematurely ceasing that season. Furthermore, the pandemic brought about considerable personnel changes towards the end of last year, and I'd like to recognise the efforts of many hard-working staff who departed the organisation with a close to 40% reduction in staff at AFC headquarters. Now, if you just think about that, that might have been, I think it was voluntary and involuntary, about 85 positions were taken off. And the rest of the staff muscled up to the job, did extra work to cover for colleagues that had separated because of the COVID pandemic. And to the staff that worked through and kept the lights on, kept the functions operating, I want to say a very sincere thank you, because you did it under extraordinary circumstances, and the fact is you did the club proud in your performance. That streamlining of the administration has brought, and the football department restructure, has brought a lot of requirements in reduced spending which have been implemented. We also took the opportunity during this period to revamp our coaching lineup, and with experienced, talented assistant coaches coming in, and James Rahili, Scott Burns and Nathan Van Berlo, coming on board and immediately making an impact. Towards the end of last year, I spoke to as many stakeholders as I possibly could, and it did not take me long to realise what a big presence the Adelaide Crows have in this state. As a brand, it's, in sporting terms, it's the biggest. In a brand as it relates to South Australia, it is also amongst the biggest. The Adelaide Football Club brand is really important in the state of South Australia. And you only had to be around in 97, 98 and have those premierships to see how the success of that brand can change the psyche and the confidence of a state, as it did in 97 and 98. So our desire is to be the best we can possibly be, and we're working towards that objective. With an enormous amount of goodwill that's clearly in the community, we should all hold optimism for the future. In recent months, the board and management have invested a great deal of time in preparing a short to medium-term plan to ensure we emerge from COVID in the best possible shape, a strategy to eliminate the debt that we've accumulated as a result of COVID. I look forward to sharing some of those priorities with you in the next 12 to 18 months later this evening. Can I finally just say in this section, it's a privilege to me to be chair of the Adelaide Football Club. You have my commitment that I'll give it my absolute best shot on your behalf to make sure this club is the best it can possibly be, both on and off the field, and make you as members and supporters of this club proud of the direction we take as a footy club in the future. If I can... Thank you. If I can now turn to the financial results. As I've already referenced, the financial impact caused by COVID was immense. After starting 2020 in a strong financial position, we then saw revenue decrease by $20 million, with a key reason being our inability to play in front of crowds at Adelaide Oval. That said, we're reporting a cash operating loss of $411,000 and a statutory loss of $2.84 million. And it should be noted this is the first deficit of the club since 2014. Importantly, the situation could have been far worse than that had it not been for the loyalty that I referred to earlier and the support of our members and stakeholders. After working hard in recent years to clear debt, we find ourselves with borrowings of $4.5 million as of October last year. Debt reduction, as I mentioned a moment ago, will be a key focus for the board in coming years, and like all clubs, we are expecting ongoing challenges brought about by COVID, because the year ahead of us is not as clear as we would like it to be, but we will be nimble, sure-footed, but quick-footed and flexible to adjust to whatever the circumstances we've got to manage. As is the case every year at this meeting, we've got time set aside for questions, and I'd be happy to discuss any other financials with you at that time. Can I now take you through the board composition? Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the retiring members of the board and pay tribute to them. At season launch, I was able to acknowledge Rob Chapman's 12 years as chair and his commitment, significant commitment, to the Adelaide Football Club. Jim McDowell, who finished last year, was obviously had a range of other matters, including as head of Premier and Cabinet with the COVID pandemic and the government's response to that, found he wasn't able to commit the necessary time to the club. That position was filled in July by Warren Randall, who is well known to many of you and has become a valuable contributor to the board. Jim Hazel has tonight indicated his wish to retire. He's given exceptional service since joining the board in 2010. And can I just comment that I sought for Jim to stay on a bit longer, and he stretched some time to stay in my initiation and transition in the position of chair. He's been an exceptional mentor. His sage advice, valuable advice, competent advice to the board and to me is something, Jim, that I really value. So thank you for staying the extra 5 or 6 months. Thank you for the period that you were chair of the Finance Committee and deputy chair of the Adelaide Football Club. You've done a sterling job, and sincerely, thank you. The current composition of the board is shown on the screen now, and I'd like to thank the board for their efforts over last year. And if you can imagine, as COVID was unfolding, as the rebuild of the footy department was being undertaken, there were a myriad of decisions that had to be made. But the board remained focused, it remained calm, and it remained determined to put in place a constructive course for the future, and I thank them for that. I'm pleased to confirm that Kate Ellis and Linda Fellows have secured 2 new terms as a term each. 2 of them. Oh, let me just rephrase this. So the 2 directors have been appointed for another term each, and importantly, I'd like to advise you that Linda Fellows has been elected Deputy Chair to replace Jim Hazel at the club. Congratulations, Linda. Over the past fortnight, we've been holding an election for one of our member-elected positions. Important and independently run process, giving our members their opportunity to elect a member to the board. Kim Ryder had been elected for the past 2 years and has made a valuable contribution, and he nominated for a second term. There were 4 nominations in total, in Donnie Wolford, Shanti Bergen and Nick Takos. I'd like to thank them for their interest, putting themselves forward and campaigning for the position. It is really important that people are prepared to take that task. Following the result of the election, I'm pleased to announce that Nick Takos has been appointed to the board as a member-elected representative for the next 2 years. Would you please join me in congratulating Nick? Thank you, Nick. And I'd like to recognise Kim Ryder, who's been an excellent contributor to the board for the last 2 years and giving some good sound advice, legal advice in board deliberations from time to time. So thank you, Kim. I'd now